Thank you for tuning in this morning. Just about 19 minutes after 11 o'clock, one of the most important things you can probably teach somebody who's younger than you, whether it's your child or somebody else, is to save your money. Gosh, I just was not good at this in my younger days. We have so many different ways to save money now, though, than when we were younger. I mean, back then you had a pass account? Remember that?
Yes,
a passbook account in the banks. Brian Horan knows about this. He is the executive vice president of Somerset Wealth Strategies in Portland, Oregon. The firm does a disproportionately large amount of its business in Florida. So we need you to know that. We're talking about the savings crisis in America and how bad it is. We always hear that people are saving so much more in Japan, for example, and there's no reason for that. It's an attitude thing, I think.
Yeah.
Brian, what an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being on. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Larry. Good morning.
Are you in Oregon right now?
I am. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we're having some beautiful sunny weather, which is not characteristic. It's supposed to be cool and drizzle for 6 months, but we've been having some spectacular blue skies.
You must have sent it here. Don't tell the Chamber of Commerce, but it's going to freeze tonight. So in Florida, believe it or not. So thank you for being on the air with us. When I was a kid, I could get a passbook account, and I don't remember what the percentage of interest was, but now it's like next to nothing, right?
It is. You basically pay zero to leave your money in the bank. It's absolutely. It's horrible.
So how do you save money? How does a kid save money? Somebody who only makes a few dollars a week. How does that child do it?
Well, if it is just a few dollars a week, frankly, I would encourage that child to do exactly the sorts of things that you did. Get that passbook savings account. Go to the bank. Get a sucker. Be involved with watching your money go to work in your local community and handing it over to the teller at the bank. But once you get past a few dollars, there's lots of things somebody could do.
Now, a lot of times I get this question. The question is, what are the demographics of our listening audience? And it's an interesting audience because we live in a community that has college students as well as retirees. So, I mean, it sounds like I'm trying to say we talk to everybody, but the truth is, as far as age is concerned, we have people right now listening that are 25. We have people listening that are 85. Is the savings advice different for the upper age group than from the younger age group?
Well, yes. As folks get older, you want to become more conservative with the investment choices you select with your savings. But if somebody's saving for long term, there are reasonable interest rates out there that you can receive over time. Now, the bank's not going to pay you a 6% guaranteed rate in your passbook, but if you were to subscribe to a balanced index fund as an option, which can be had through Fidelity, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, all those mutual fund companies that advertise on television, over the long term in decades, you can receive conservatively a 6% rate of return. And over time, those $100 bills can turn into $1,000 bills, and you can have a nest egg that you can feel proud about and walk down the street with your head up high and know that you're not just a consumer, you're an investor too.
So let's talk a little bit about the middle ground, like the 45-year-old who maybe has not been very good about this. Is it too late? Is there a way for him or her to fix maybe they've been very bad at savings, maybe they have none at all? Is there a way to fix that so that by the time 20 years from now when they're 65, they've got a bit of a nest egg?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll give you some quick numbers. The hard choice is the behavioral choice. So I'll give you the numbers in just a second. But yes, that listener can accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars before they retire. But what they have to do is they have to make the behavioral choice to find those savings today. It's the $10 a day at Starbucks. Maybe it's used car versus new car. There's a decision for everybody, but these are hard decisions because the fact is, since 1973, we haven't seen an increase in wages when you factor in inflation. So you're right. The choices are harder. It's harder to find the savings now than ever. And there hasn't been a real increase in wages, and those rates, those interest rates that you could earn at the bank aren't helping us either. But you can find it. I'll give you a quick example. If somebody saves over a 20-year time period, that $10 a day, it's about $3,000 a year, you're going to have $150,000 in 20 years. And that's a lot better than nothing. So get something started.
Well,
$100 a day.
Say that again, that last part?
Get something started and find that $10 a day.
$10. Isn't that amazing when you put it that way? Yeah, and if once you've accrued, let's say $2,000, is that the minimum for some of the investments that some people offer? I don't even know how to ask that question.
Yeah, that's about right. But just think this savings problem, frankly, is a lot like the health problem we have in America, which we've heard so much more about than we have the savings problem, in my opinion. And the reality is, what's the perfect exercise? Well, the one that works for you. So get out there and do something. Find that $10 a day, however it works for you, and get going on something. I promise you can fix the details 6 months, a year down the road, but you got to get something going.
Well, does Somerset Wealth Strategies, do you guys offer advice as far as strategies? I mean, do you give us ideas on how to maybe budget or that kind of stuff?
Mostly in general. I mean, sure, we could talk to an individual specifically about their budget, but I think a budget is something very personal, and I think people know their budgets probably better than any advisor could to the penny. You know where you're spending your money, and if you don't, it's because you're trying not to pay attention. So if you just look for those daily savings, you're going to find them somewhere, and the math speaks for itself. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars waiting for you decades down the road. Once you find those savings, you've hit a gold mine. It's just a matter of time.
Do you encourage people to save first before they purchase their first home, to save the 20%, and then later on it will show that they will have an easier time saving than if they just went out and bought a home with like $1,000 down?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That would be phenomenal if you could save 20%. And a lot of the way these bank loans work today, you have to have the 20%. The zero down isn't really out there anymore unless it's some sort of FHA plan or VA mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I would recommend you pay yourself first. Save it first. Get it out of your checking account as rapidly as you can. Even for self-employed people, which I think for some folks it's harder on them because you automatically have to set aside money for taxes and all these other things. Get that money out of your checking account as rapidly as possible. Every bank will offer you multiple accounts. You can do it online, click it over, get it out of your hands. And know that this money isn't for you. This money is for the older you, which will very much appreciate it.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's a wonderful way to put it. You know, we have an app for everything. I saw an app. Well, there's more than one for losing weight. Which losing weight, if you think about it, it's a self-discipline thing, and so is saving money. But that leads me to the question: is there an app that you know about, or do you guys offer an app?
No, I can't think of one something like
that. So it's a discipline issue then, right?
It really is. It's a discipline issue. Because once you start, I could tell you, listeners, you're going to get addicted to it. Once you save that $10, you'll laugh at yourself inside because it doesn't mean much. But when it's 100 and 1,000, you will walk down the street with your head higher because you, as I mentioned before, you're not just a consumer out there buying products and services that others are creating to sell you. You have your own nest egg, and it's a very empowering feeling. Brian
Horn is our guest, and he's out in Oregon, in Portland, I believe. And the savings crisis in America is the topic. And before we run out of time, I want to make sure the listeners know that, I feel like this, if there's a crisis in America and I'm not experiencing it, then it's kind of hard to relate to. So, but if there's no crisis and I'm having my crisis, it's kind of like money is an individual crisis, I would think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, saving will change your life from the inside out. You just got to get started with something, and whatever it is, don't worry about the size. It will snowball, and it will give you a sense of self-pride.
And it helps protect the person against the unseen events that happen. Suppose somebody gets hurt, they lose their job for a few months, maybe their parents are developing Alzheimer's and they move in with them. That's an extra expense there.
That's exactly correct. Now you got to flip that around. Do you want to be somebody who has to move in with your kids when you're 70 years old?
That's right.
Perhaps that might be a motivator, because that's really the difference. I spoke with a gentleman last month. He's 65 years old. He saved nothing, zero, and he was trying to figure out how he could fix the problem. Now, thank God he was motivated, because I think that's the time most people throw in the towel.
Good point. Yeah.
Luckily, he was in his top earning years. He was earning $100,000 a year. He sold his house, moved into an apartment, went from new cars to used cars. He found $50,000 a year, and his plan was to save it for 6 years. That's $300,000 minimum, even if you did put it in the bank with a 0%. We did some math and figured out with Social Security, he's going to have a $36,000 income. Now, that's not glamorous, but it was between that
better than nothing.
And moving in with his kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brian, I want our listeners to have the information they need so they can look at this further. I wish we had more time to talk. The website I went to is somersetwealthstrategies.com. Is that a good starting point?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. There's some videos on there, and there's some tips for investing. Lots of neat stuff for a consumer to browse.
And you represent a lot of. How does it work with you being out in Oregon and somebody here in Florida? How does that work? Does that not matter?
Oh, it doesn't matter at all. No, we're licensed to do business in 48 out of 50 states. It's as normal as can be these days. This business model's worked great for us for 25 years, but thankfully with more folks getting comfortable with computers and stuff, it's even easier.
Brian, thank you. Somerset is spelled Somerset. So go to somersetwealthstrategies.com. Share the video that we just made. You'll see Brian's picture on the video, and of course, listen to the great information. Brian Horn, thank you so much for being on the air with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll be right back.
A million woo. People shivering the South not getting a break anytime soon as a cold lingers. Some in northern Georgia being forced to go to emergency shelters after an ice storm brought down trees and power
I
lines.
admit the motion. I'm a very independent person.
He's staying warm at a church. A lot of commuters in Boston frustrated not being able to ride the MBTA's rails or buses since the late January blizzard. Folks returning home and power crews restoring